I want to thank you all for being here tonight for our work session. My name is Mark D'Antonio. I'm the Muskogee County Probate Court Judge and Chair of the Districting Commission that I've put the parentheses around for RE. Ms. Hodge, I guess you want to announce that this matter is being recorded, and anything else?
Yes, so this is being broadcast live on CCG TV. It's being live streamed, so it will replay again after it's recorded throughout the week until the next meeting. And so, Judge, we're ready to go when you are.
Okay, and again, I think it's very helpful for once again, each time we meet, for us to go around the room and introduce ourselves to the viewers and to everyone here. Again, my name is Mark D'Antonio. I'll go to my left.
My name is U.D. Roberts. I'm a lifelong native from Columbus here in Georgia with the Jordan High School and own a company called Brentwood Christian Press.
Byron Hickey, retired Columbus Police Department.
I'm Mary Sue Pollies and former school board member.
Wayne Hales, publisher of the Courier Echo Latino newspaper.
Jerome Williams, implant to Columbus, Georgia, NAACP.
I'm Gloria Strode. I am a product of Muskogee County School District, the famous Carver High School, graduate of the Albany State University as Fountain City Classic Weekend. I served as your 2010 Census Liaison and your 2020 Census Liaison for the Atlanta Regional Census Center.
Ed Roldan, retired military, and part of the Muskogee County Board of Elections. Thank you.
Ricky Boren, retired Columbus Police Department.
Connie Smith, all my adult life I've lived in Columbus, and I'm a retired state employee.
Dave Rowetter, I'm a trial lawyer with Littner, Indigani, and PC.
Okay, well, thank you all and welcome. At this time, I'd like to call on Mary Sue Pollies for an invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, we pause to recognize and praise you as the creator of all and the sustainer of your creation, as the God of all power and love and great faithfulness. We thank you for the blessings of liberty and for these citizens willing to accept the responsibilities necessary for a good and just society. We thank you, too, that you've promised to be with us when we ask, to help and to guide. And so we ask now for your spirit of goodwill and understanding and wisdom during this time for the work before us tonight. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Pollies. On our consent agenda, the thing that I just want to knock out so that we all and everyone in the viewing public knows about when we will be meeting, I sent a survey to the commissioners about when would be the best time, and based upon the responses, mindful of the fact that the school board also meets on Monday evenings, it seems like Monday evenings work best for us, so I would entertain a motion that we meet November 15th, November 22nd. Of course, if we do our work and we are concluded before the 29th, we might not need to meet then. But at this point, it seems like that's the date that works best for most.
Jerome Williams, make a motion that we meet on stated times, November 15th, 22nd, if needed, the 29th at 17:30.
Gloria Strode, second.
Any discussion? Anyone opposed? Okay, we know when we're meeting. At this point, I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Hodge for, it's my understanding that the folks have been working hard on other proposed maps, and obviously this is a work session, so we will be glad to play around with whatever is proposed, but at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Hodge for her to tell us what they've done since the last time we've met.
Sure. Good evening to all. And what I have is just a brief presentation. You should have a copy of the presentation. I did not include copies of all the maps that's in the presentation because you have all of the maps. So the maps that you should have should be the composite of scenario D with each one of the districts, a composite of scenario E in each one of the districts, and then the composite of F in each one of the districts. So I have those in the presentation, but you also have those individually. If you're missing any of those as we're going through those, please let us know. We'll make sure we have plenty of copies and want to make sure that everyone receives a copy. Again, this is the 2020 census data. Our population was 206,922, less the Fort Benning of 7,108. So the total population is 199,814. It's broken out into these demographics for 2020. What I've also included in the presentation is the demographics for 2010. And you can see between the two, there's been some natural changes in the demographics for Columbus, which also plays into how the districts are configured. Some of the changes in the districts are natural changes in the demographics. Again, the district population goal is the 24,977 for each one of the 8 council districts. Of course, it's going to be really difficult to meet exactly that ideal population range, so there is an allowance for plus or minus 1% variance. So each one of the scenarios D, C, D, E, and F all meet that 1%, the variance of 250 plus or minus. So the range is 24,727 to 25,227. I put this overview in there just so you appreciate the dynamics of the adjustments to the map. So a lot of the districts were either under or over that target number. There was only one district, which was District 3, which was actually within the range based on the current lines. But you also have to look at what other districts are adjacent to that district. And District 7, I think, is probably the most perfect example. It was under target, so obviously needed to add to District 7, but it is only adjacent to District 3 or District 8. So that was almost our starting point. If we pull from District 8, then that works into how all the other districts, and if we pull from District 3, then that also has a domino effect. So this was just provided for your information so that you can see which districts are adjacent, which ones were over or under that target number. So this was the composite of Scenario C, which was presented to the commission at the last meeting. We had comments from the commission. I will not walk through each one of these districts, but I will want to make a note of District 1. I had a very concerning phone call with the counselor for District 1, and I want to make sure that I said this many times in the last meeting, but Scenario C did not put any incumbent out of their district. And so I blew up this particular map specifically just to show, because I know this was televised and there might have been some questions about District 1 counselor. He is within that Scenario C and is in all the composites as well as every other counselor and school board member. So I just wanted to point that out because I said that numerous times, but when I talked to him yesterday, he was very concerned, and so I wanted to make sure that that's clear, that staff did not remove any counselor or school board member from anything that was proposed in Scenario C or any of the additional scenarios proposed today. Council District 2 for Scenario C, again, these are the ones that you saw at the last meeting. District 5, District 6, and District 7, as well as District 8. And so, again, we provided those composites, and I'll just kind of walk through each one to kind of show you some of the adjustments that we made. And again, this is a work session, so please feel free to ask questions or if you want us to look at a different type of scenario, that's why we're here, is to provide that information to the commission. So on this composite, we moved some things around based on what we heard in district, and I'll walk through each one. So in District 1, we made some changes from Scenario C. District 1, make sure I'm on the right one. We gave up, or took a portion of District 4. It was one of the ones that was under target, so District 1 needed to grow slightly. So there was a portion on the south end from District 4, and then a portion on the north end from District 5. In District 2, there was some adjustments made from Scenario C. District 2 was one of those districts that was over the target number, so we moved a little bit and gave up to District 8 and slightly to District 5 on the southeast side of District 2. So a little bit of changes from Scenario C. District 3, we went and originally District 7, as I had stated before, was under target, and so we had pulled from District 3. In this particular scenario, District 3 is added to from that range off of 185 and Victory Drive, but that basically stayed whole in this particular scenario. District 4, again, we took a small portion of District 4 on the southwest corner, and that was to District 1. District 5, of course, because the north end, District 2 and District 6 were the two districts that were over the target, those grew. District 5 grew into District 6, slightly into District 2, and then gave to District 1 and 8. District 6, again, one of the districts that's over target, and that gave a portion to District 5. District 7 grew slightly, or was under target, so it, in this scenario, took a portion from District 8. And then because District 8 is kind of in the middle and is surrounded by 2, 3, 5, and 7, it gave to District 7, and then it took from District 5 and District 2. So that is Scenario D. And I did also email to you the information on the demographics for each one of these scenarios. And then I looked at plus or minus the 3% in the variance. And so those on the handout, which should be this spreadsheet, you'll see anything that was in red is plus or minus 3%. But again, remember that there was some demographic changes in Muskogee County between 2010 and 2020, so there is going to be some natural changes in the demographics moving forward. This is Scenario E. And again, there were some changes. Some stayed the same, but some changed from Scenario D. There wasn't any changes in District 1 as was presented in Scenario D. There was a change in this scenario for District 2. District 3 in this scenario gave up a portion to District 1 or District 7, District 1, and then gave up some to District 7. District 4 gave some to District 1. District 5, of course, being in the middle of Muskogee County, is kind of on the side of having to give up and take from other districts. In this scenario, it took from District 6, slightly from District 2, gave to District 1 and District 8. This is the same scenario for District 6, gave to District 5. And District 6, again, is only adjacent to 2, 4, and 5. 2 is also over target, so 4 and 5 are the only two districts that District 6 could give to in order to make District 6 within the target. In this scenario, District 7 took from District 8 and slightly, I think, from District 3. And then District 8 gave to District 7, and then also took some from District 2 and District 5. And then again, this is scenario F, some slight changes in some of the districts. District 1 remains the same. District 2 remains the same. And when I say remains the same, as in scenario E, District 3 would remain the same as scenario E, and District 4. District 5 changed slightly from scenario E. District 6 also changed slightly in the north side, gave slightly to District 2, and then came around in District 2 and gave to District 8. District 7 took from District 8 and then slightly from District 3. And then this is District 8 that gave to District 7, slightly to District 2, and then also took a different portion from District 2 and then also District 5. So if you see the districts, this is scenario C. This is how it changed from D. So this is C to D. D, I feel like I'm at the eye doctor, right? Which one's better, right? So C, D, this is E, changed slightly, and this would be F. So these are the additional scenarios that we put together for the commission to discuss. And also we provided that demographic information for you to review. There is some plus and minuses. I use 3%, not for any reason other than to have a method to measure, to show which ones are going, changes in demographics, just for your information, and I've provided that to you through the email and also tonight in a handout. So at this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions. We do have these scenarios that we can pull up, and if there's something you want to see, how does that impact, we're happy to go through that exercise as well.
Thank you, Ms. Hodge. It's clear that when one giveth, one has to taketh away. At this point, I will turn it over to the commission for anyone that has any questions about any of the scenarios. I understand this is an awful lot to digest. Go ahead, Mr.
Ms. Hodge, I've got one question that goes to the district population overview on page 4. When you're talking under target or over target, are we talking about under the 1% variance and over the 1% variance? Or is it just plus or minus that target of 24,977?
Just plus or minus the 24,977.
So do you all know which districts fall outside of the allotted 1% variance?
And maybe I didn't state that correctly. So when I said under target or over target, obviously District 3 is within that 250 plus or minus range. So maybe I didn't answer your question correctly. So under or over target means under or over that range of 24, 7, 27, and 25 to 27.
So if it says over target, it's over the 25 to 27.
That's correct.
Got it. Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Hodge, I think some confusion from last week, and you might have gotten some of the same feedback I got, but the commission decided to delete those 2 scenarios where incumbents were not in their district. So since we're not having the reading of the minutes and all of that, I think if we could just say for the record, for those that's listening, that we did vote to put those to the side, and we were going to tweak the one that you've been working on in the last week.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. So there were 2 other scenarios for those that weren't here or for those watching, scenario A and B, which was there were 3 different scenarios that the commission originally looked at. A just took it and moved from east to west to develop new districts, and scenario B took similar approach, but looked at the districts where they were. And in some of those cases, both in the A and the B scenario, incumbents were not located in their district. And scenario C was presented in order to keep all the incumbents in their district. The commission did vote to remove A and B from the discussion, and so we have been working with C and provided additional scenarios based on some of the comments that we heard from the commission. Yes, ma'am.
So to clarify, all of the scenarios we are looking in protect incumbents.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Surely we have lots of questions. Maybe we need to take a few minutes to look at the maps.
I have a question, not, excuse me, specifically about the maps, but it seems that the only other thing that could provide, that would present consternation for an incumbent would be to learn so late that his or her district changed rather dramatically. And so, and I know we've talked here, at least mention has been made of the fact that these changes may not go into effect for next year's vote. Do we have the power to determine that, or is that strictly a matter of meeting certain deadlines or not meeting them?
Ms. Sheftal?
Is a matter of meeting the 6-month deadline in the
so-
charter. We don't have discretion to decide whether
So
or
if
not
we
to.
do meet those deadlines, then they would automatically go into effect next year.
That's correct.
Okay. I was just going to try to relieve people's fears, but I guess that's not within our
Well,
purview.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, unless we were to decide everything tonight, which we're not even going, which we've agreed we will not do, we will not meet the 6-month deadline unless the primaries are moved and we have no control over the Georgia Assembly. Is that correct? So in other words, we're talking about 2024 for certain districts? Again, correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct. Council would have to adopt an ordinance on the second reading 6 months before whatever date the election ends up being held to use these districts.
So incumbents will have some time.
Thank you.
What's the feedback been from the incumbents? I see we got Councilor Bruce Huff in the back. Has this been run by the existing city council? And if so, what have been the comments?
Well, Mr. Roberts, I think, had his mic. Did you have a question specific before we go to that?
I don't have a question, but I just want to thank you and your staff for what you have done. It gives us many things to look at and start even narrowing those three down. I really appreciate all the work you've done.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, to your question?
I have only talked to one counselor. I know Counselor Huff is here this evening, and he made some of his comments at the meeting. I have not had any conversations other than the one counselor yesterday who was concerned because he was approached and thought he was getting drawn out of his district. So I have not had any conversations.
We have Vanessa Jackson, School Board District 3. So I know she's concerned because she called me also. But in terms of looking at what you broke down the demographics for the different scenarios, in some of the areas, I know you said it's a plus or minus the 3%, but if we're looking at some of the numbers for African Americans, I just want us to pay close attention to that. And the reason for that is Hispanics can also enumerate black or white, just for the record. So when we just say black, we have black Hispanics and we have white Hispanics. So it just depends on how they enumerate in the decennial census. So that plus or minus 3% could really make a big difference.
Does anyone else have any questions for Ms. Hodge? Hearing none, I guess I'll open it up to the commission if they have other questions, comments. If you want to take a few minutes to digest all we've just had thrown at us, I'm happy to do that too.
Just ask Ms. Strode if there's one that, any one of these scenarios that you're specifically concerned about in that regard.
I live in District 5, and one of the scenarios, which is really not that many African Americans, and one of the scenarios decreased the population. So is it scenario E? No, D.
Which one?
No, E and F, District 5.
It looks like the percentage is larger, black percent. Am I reading it right?
No, I'm sorry, African Americans. So for scenario E, we had 6,855, and then scenario F was 6,440. So I'm just concerned.
see.
I
That's
want to
below
go with the higher number because with Hispanics, John Q. Public, we always put Hispanics in one box. You have black Hispanics and you have white Hispanics. It just depends on how they enumerate, and it's their choice. So I just wanted to call attention to that if we're looking at plus or minus 3%. That's to just keep that in the back of your mind.
I didn't see it at first because I was looking at the 2010 numbers instead of 2020.
And I will, just to comment too, I just want to make sure, the plus or minus that are shown in red is comparing existing districts with 2020 numbers compared to these scenarios, not comparing to 2010. Because there is obviously changes from 2010 to 2020. And so each one of these scenarios compares to existing districts with 2020 numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Again, I'll give you all a few minutes to, as I said, this is a lot to digest. While we're waiting, Ms. Boren, well, actually, as you get up, do you have any comments, suggestions? Mr. Ellington? Okay, well then, we'll take a few minutes to digest. Well, again, thank you all for being here this evening. In stating that we're going to have open and candid discussions, I think that a lot of that has gone on. And I think that this has been a very helpful meeting. I also cannot thank Ms. Hodge and the CGG, all the folks from Columbus Consolidated Government that listened to us about concerns over scenario C and have come back with other options that I think, from what I'm hearing, are very close to where we could have some consensus. I actually am also happy that we're not voting on anything this evening because, again, this is an awful lot to digest. At this time, I'd like to give an opportunity to anyone that's here from the public or otherwise to ask questions or comments. And I see Councilor Huff getting up to. I'm not sure if your mic's on.
Good evening to the commission. I appreciate the opportunity to say just a couple of words. The group around during the break had a chance to speak to each other, and to my first time dealing with the school board side at the front table. I appreciate the time. But thank you all. I told you last time, I appreciate you just hearing us out. Thank you for considering what was said, and looking at what we see tonight. It seems like everybody's pretty happy. From what I heard, it may be a D, a E, or F, but everybody's somewhere between those 3 pages tonight that we seem like we'll be pretty good. Vanessa Jackson and I spoke, and we are just ecstatic at this point from where we were last time. So thank you so very much, and we look forward to getting through this.
Thank you. I'll go ahead. Is that Counselor Barnes? I apologize, it's hard for me to see that far.
You know, I'll be honest with you, this takes a lot of work. Prior to this coming up, I went through it one time already. I know voluminous amount of work, a lot of time, and I just want to show appreciation to all of y'all, because it's a lot of work. Last time I was a novice. I didn't get into all the minutiae. This time I did. I realize all the things that are involved, and I know it's taken a lot. But all of us here who are affected by this here, the citizens as well that we represent, just to speak from them, I'm sure that I'm not only speaking for District 1, I'm speaking for other districts as well. School Board Representative Pat Hughley Green and I, we interface a lot, and it represents a lot for the people. So we know all that you all are doing. It takes a lot of work from myself and the elected officials and the individuals that we represent. Just want to say thank you much for all that you do.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say or add this evening? Hearing none. Go ahead.
So on the table, we still are considering D, E, and F. Have we eliminated C?
Well, I don't think and I'm glad we agreed not to vote on anything tonight. But in terms of where consensus is when we meet again, it sounds like we will be able to move quickly towards a scenario or two.
But it's kind of the understanding that we're not still thinking about C, it sounds to me like.
That seems to be.
Well, what happened is we took C from last time, and they tweaked C in order to make D, E, and F, correct? Yeah. So it's C is what we did last time. They just tweaked it a little bit.
Okay.
D, E, and F.
Okay. I was going to suggest, I know we're not voting on anything, but I was going to suggest that we also put scenario F on the back burner unless somebody greatly prefers scenario F. And I'm thinking about the percentages in District 6 when I say that. So,
I agree with that, Mary Sue.
which means it would be D and
I
E
agree
that we
with
were
the F.
focusing mostly on, unless somebody, I'm not saying it's anything official, I'm just saying it's something I noticed, and no incumbents talked to me about anything, but I was just looking at, I was asking Ms. Hodge why, but it doesn't need to go into why, because she's already told me why we can't do it, so, that's okay, that's all I had to say.
I was thinking that C would still be on the table. I agree about F, but I think there were some numbers in C that still look good to me, so we can, I know we're not going to vote tonight, but that's my thought.
I think that's why we wanted to have this opportunity, and why I think it makes sense for us to have another week to digest things before we meet again. Okay. And also, again, as I've said, and I'm going to keep reiterating, I think it's very important that the community as a whole have an opportunity to comment, and I'm sure we will hear more comments from the community, and I'd invite anyone else that has feelings about C, D, E, or F to be present at our next meeting. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Ms. Hodge, Ms. Bourne? Hearing none, we're adjourned.
So our next meetings are what you emailed us out, right?